Yeah, I've got a nice sea breeze here. By sea breeze, I mean a force 3 gale.
It's all right for you guys. I am sweating to death. So welcome to Live Dungeons and Dyslexia on this incredibly boiling evening when I thought I'd be by myself. Duan's not too bad. He's by the sea. And Jay is not too bad because he's in Scotland. So
and by the sea.
And by the sea. So it's just Pookie and I dying, really. And he's got a cup of tea. I've got a cold drink. So
I've got a cup of tea and the installation of books.
Yeah. So tonight we are doing our live review of Coriolis. But before we get into that, we'll just introduce you back to the original team. Jay is back with us after spending, 2 weeks with your puppies? Which sounds wrong. Now I've said it like that.
With my puppies for 2 weeks. My puppy, anyway. Yeah. It's been 2 weeks of not fun. A little bit of frustration, but it's fun. He's at the biting stage now, so that's fun.
It's that little sharp teeth. They have really pointy teeth, don't they, little puppers?
Yeah. And he's not too far off his teeth coming through. So that'd be fun as well.
Yeah. And we started off with membership. So thank you. My ear trumpet has been struck by lightning. So, and to everyone else that's here, thank you. So let's get round. What order have I done this in this week? I think we have got Pookie going first.
Well, hi, I'm Pookie. I'm probably best known as a reviewer and occasionally an editor. I have a reviews blog called Reviews Sommelier, where I have over 2,800 reviews going back 15 years, and a very terrible Unboxing in the Nook unboxing YouTube channel.
Okay, and then we got Dune up next with his books.
Cool. Hello, I'm Dune. I'm one of the co-designers of Quintessence. We recently released Age of Goblins, our first kind of campaign book for Quintessence. We had a bit of a week off after the Games Expo, but we've been working independently from each other. So Sunday, we're playtesting a very rough version of a new game, which is quite exciting. And I also run the Odd Artworks YouTube channel, which is all of a sudden doing very, very well, which I'm not sure how to take. But yeah, it's all been good fun. So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Absolutely massive. You're smashing all of us on subscriptions. It's we have to remove you eventually, I think. So. And last but not least, we've got Puppy Boy back, Jay.
That still sounds wrong.
I do Rogue and Rat. I do basically all the games you see on the screen, plus more. Actually, that's not even half of it. I don't think. I'm quite prolific. Sadly, well, not sadly, quite good really. Currently I'm working on Eldritch Gits, which is a third of my Gits games, and I'm also working on the Delve Quick Start, which should be hopefully out some point in July. And I'm sure Adrian will get a copy of that sent to him as soon as it's out, so he can look at it and go, I don't review this, I review full good books. And then go, okay.
and obviously we've got medieval Gits, cowboy Gits. So I'm getting them all out there so we can copyright the name. So if you want
lots of Gits. There's no free. There's no free books.
So I think you should do a box set as well, and we've mentioned that.
I always think the slipcase with all of them in there, special editions. I think that's good.
I mean, is there going to be a one core rulebook called Gits?
The Gittionary, I'll call it the Gittionary.
That's good. Yeah, get Gits.
Yeah. So as ever, the rules for this, we will be reviewing Coriolis, and at 9 o'clock we will draw from the names of people that don't. We're just going to do anyone that speaks in this. Obviously, my Patreons automatically get loaded in, and then if you put any comment in, you will get included in the draw. It's a PDF copy because sadly I'm not quite as rich as Dune with all the millions of subscribers he's now got. So Dune will be paying for them in going forward. Tomorrow night I am live again with a giveaway for a book, so Atomic Shadows. So I'll be joined with the creator for that, and we will be giving away a physical copy of the book for that because he's a lot more generous than I am. Okay, Coriolis. Who wants to start with their first impressions as I sort of get the book up and start showing some beautiful images? Bit of a spoiler there for my first impressions.
I don't mind going first. I assume the three of you have all played it before, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I
haven't
haven't actually.
No, I haven't.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Well, this was my first encounter with it, of having heard many people mention it. And my first impressions are, yeah, you get a lot of bang for your buck. It is a big book. It's something like 320 pages.
385.
Wow, it's massive.
Yeah.
From what I could make out, I think everything is there that you need to play, so you don't need to buy a different book or anything like that, which is always good. I think the setting is amazing. I love the setting. Layout, mostly okay. I felt it maybe is a little bit dated in the way that it lays things out. It feels very kind of early 2000s to me. And the artwork, for the most part, all of it is very, very slick and very well produced. I felt like the location and ship artwork was phenomenal. Some of the character stuff is great. Some of it I felt was a little bland in places, but I can't fault the quality of it. But yeah, those are my first impressions.
Perfect. Jay?
Okay, right. So yeah, I've played it. I've ran it. Basically, everything I said about Vaesen, you could probably just say about Coriolis, and just change the name. Just dub that over me and just use the word Vaesen Coriolis. I love, I like the setting. I think the setting's unique. I think it's interesting. The artwork was quite interesting. Again, it's that kind of free league artwork. That's kind of similar to Symbaroum and things like that. That kind of that artist, and he's all right, but he can be a little bit. I don't know. He's all right. I don't mind him, actually, to be honest. He's all right.
Yeah, it's a bit impressionistic in places, I think.
Yeah. The layout, I like the layout. I thought it was all right. It's pretty standard. I'm not, layout is layout to me, really, I suppose. I mean, I wish, actually, I do prefer more interesting layouts, but they're hard to do, really. It disappoints me and just depresses me that I can't do it. Yeah, the setting's good. I think the only issue I had with it was the system again, but it was the second one I ever played, right? So I played Mutant Year Zero. I backed Coriolis. I was pleased that Coriolis actually had hit points, which Mutant Year Zero didn't, because that would have made me more disappointed. But still, it's the same D6 system that I don't like. So, but I like it. I think it's unique. There's a few issues with it, I think, and there's a few things you need to have, but we'll talk about that later.
I'm glad you've joined in to come back and say exactly what you said 2 weeks ago and be negative within 10 minutes.
I'm just being honest.
I'm trying to... Go on, Pookie.
I was going to say, I feel that obviously we could have just replayed Jay's entry from last time and nobody would have noticed. Okay, but I mean, my first impressions of this, like, I remember this coming out and being really intrigued by what it is and looking at it, and I think one of the great things, you look at this book and the artwork is the artist who was working on Symbaroum when he came across to Free League when Free League took over the publisher of Symbaroum. And what this artwork really does is give the whole book a sense of mystery and sort of intrigue. What's going on? It's because it does capture a very different look to what we normally see in a science fiction role-playing game. Yes, it's got spaceships and so on, but it's painting sort of like a very different culture, one that is sort of like recognizably grounded in one of our own cultures, that of the Middle East. Other impressions, I thought the layout was fine. I know some people object to the sort of like the having the black. I don't. And I think, for the most part, the people who kind of object to that are the ones who are essentially going to try to print the book out themselves from the PDF. Really, it's that in a science fiction game, it's that possibility of intrigue and a different setting, and perhaps doing something different, I think, which caught my imagination.
Yeah, because there's no hiding it. I utterly despise the Year Zero engine. I think it's probably one of the worst and laziest systems out there. Hence the reason I've never played this.
Sorry. It's certainly not. I would go back and say the Star Wars D6 system is the laziest system out there.
That's right. That we have got that debate coming.
Disagree.
That debate is coming. But I was really blown away by this because Britt has offered to run it, and Paul, who's in my main face-to-face group, has offered to run it. And I was like, I'm not playing this. It's the Year Zero engine. It's going through the book. I didn't realize it was sort of Middle Eastern science fiction fantasy. So very Firefly-y, but Eastern sort of Asian and all that side of things, Arabian Nights, lots of mysticism in there, which I was, again, really surprised. I'd even consider playing one of the religious type people. It was that kind of interest. But like Dune says, huge book. I was expecting 250, not nearly 400 pages. And it does seem to have everything else. And the reason I think the layout is the way the layout is, and I came up to this as a games master when I was looking at it. I'm just going to show you this. And what I like about this, what it does, is if you look at the first 7 chapters, all of that you can let your players read before you start the game. And I think from a layout point of view, it would be quite good if more companies did that, because you could just share the first half of the book. Maybe I shouldn't say that for legal reasons. But do you know what I mean? When you're handing it around the table, let's go with that one. You're not hiding. There's nothing in that bit. Even the introduction, it details how the ships get there, what's going on. I like it. I like the layout.
I'm now imagining Adrian taking his book and basically tearing it down the middle at that point and just handing the first 7 chapters round the table. You can have a look at this bit. The rest of it is for me.
Okay, we've got a question. I don't know if anyone knows this. I didn't follow the latest Kickstarter. I'm maybe having a little bit of remorse on it. So
Pookie will probably know.
Pookie will know.
Okay. No, it's not. But it's pushing away from sort of like the Third Horizon setting more than anything else. What I mean by say away from the setting that's it mainly explored in the Third Horizon. This goes out sort of like into the depths of space to explore some of the further secrets. It's best described. Someone always described it basically. You are literally going off out into the dark to do deep sea diving into planets and spaceships and things.
And 200 years in the future.
Yeah.
So according to Britt, so if that's wrong, Britt, it's like taking a fact on the internet and arguing about it, isn't it? Because you read it somewhere. So. But no, we'll ask about the new book later. Okay, so right, first impressions, relatively positive, apart from Jay. Right, I'm going to go back to Jay then, and Jay can start with. Let's do the good from Jay.
All right. Okay,
and
so
stick
I think...
purely to good. You're not allowed to say anything negative here.
All right. Okay, so I think for me the good was I like the setting. I think the setting is unique, and that makes it interesting for me. I'm not going to talk about layout and stuff. I'm talking about the game really. So I like the layout, and I think it's a good idea. I think it reminded me very much, not completely, but the feel of it was very much like an Alistair Reynolds novel. If you read the Alistair Reynolds, he's a really great sci-fi writer. He's English, but he's brilliant. And it kind of reminded me of his Revelation Space stuff. A little bit, not completely, but sort of. And I quite like that about it. And I like the whole how they've got the culture entwined within the rules. I thought that was really good with the icons and so forth. But unfortunately, that's also one of my dislikes. But I'll go into that in a minute. But I do like it. I think it is an interesting setting, right? So I don't think there's much wrong with it, to be honest, in that sense. So my dislikes about it.
No. We do dislikes later.
Let's see if people need more likes. It's more going anywhere further.
You give someone a week off and they forget. Then they forget the format.
Take them all back. So basically, I like the setting. I think the rule book is pretty well laid out, and I quite like that. And I quite like the equipment and stuff for it. I think that's interesting. When I played it, I have enjoyed it. When I ran it, I kind of enjoyed running it. But again, that's down to a dislike. I'll go into that later. But I did enjoy running it. The only thing I'm not going to go into that, so no more dislike. Sorry for that. I quite like the equipment. I quite liked. I think it's a good setting. I think the game is good in itself as a setting, as a whole concept.
Yeah. The equipment section is very, very busy, isn't it? Yeah. There's so much in here.
Yeah. In fact, some of it's hard to find. But yeah.
Yeah. We've got a Pookie then.
Okay, so what I mean, primarily what I liked about it was the setting, and it's sort of different treatment of science fiction seen through the lens of another culture. I mean, I think the best description of it is you can either it's Babylon 5 meets sort of essentially Arabian Nights, or it's Firefly meets Arabian Nights. It's the characters themselves, and if you look at the character archetypes, they're all kind of going, oh, I can see that from Firefly. I can see that character in Firefly, and you can build archetypes easily with it. Yes, it's the year zero engine, but there's a little bit of nuance in here, because you bring in your faith, and you can get basically bonuses and sort of rerolls in there because you literally pray to one of the icons. And the other thing I really liked about it was there's a central mystery to this setting, which is who are the icons who have boiled up out of this planet, the gas of this gas giant, and claiming to be sort of religious, basically icons, and people have come to worship them. But there's a debate as to who or what they are, and the fact that aliens have appeared and actually claim to be the actual icons.
Yeah, I tell you, it is a really interesting, probably quite unique, I think, setting as well. Even taking the mysticism out, like you say, it's. I love the fact that two ships started off, they sailed from Earth for thousands of years. One disappeared, one turned up, and this is where you are based. So you can kind of ignore everything. And the camp, I know it's a side issue, but apparently the campaign is meant to be amazing. Again, not read it.
I've read the first part, and I've got the next couple of parts. I actually want to sort of finish reading and reviewing the second and third parts of the campaign before I move on to this.
Yeah,
there's a lot. I like to be complete in what I'm actually reviewing. So. But yeah, we talk about the campaign in a bit. I like the idea. It gives you options of sort of like ideas of, okay, here's what you can play, and here's how you can take the characters and fit into sort of like that setup, whether it's running a mercenary company, basically an exploration ship, or merchant traders, that sort of thing, the Firefly thing. I mean, it really does lend itself to that merchant trader, tramp freighter kind of setup. Yeah.
Dune?
Oh yeah, well, obviously, the same as everyone else. I thought the setting was really interesting. Nice to see sci-fi taking reference from a different culture for a change, which was really interesting to see. I really enjoyed the mysticism part. I didn't think I would, but yeah, and I kind of like the mechanic it's got in there. I could kind of see how it would get abused a little bit, but if you re-roll your dice and whatnot.
Well, don't you think it balances out by giving the games master a really powerful?
Yeah, that's the part I think could get abused.
Yeah.
I think it's the games master that could abuse it rather than the players.
Yeah.
But again, it depends on the games master. I really like the group abilities and group theme aspect of it when you're doing character generation. That was really interesting to me. Like Pookie said, you're all kind of your crew on a ship, and you're deciding what purpose you have and what kind of role you're going to take in it. That was really interesting. I really enjoyed the environmental art and the vehicle art, but again, the character art, I felt like the text was so rich and really kind of described to me what was going on. I felt like the character art could have been pushed a lot further. That was my gripe about the art. But on the whole, the art was really nice, though a bit bland in places. Yeah, big one for me was the adventure hooks. Like, even if you weren't going to play the campaign, I was just looking at this as one book. There's so much there to build on. You know, it really sets it up that you could go on and on and on with things. There's plenty of hooks there, which is really nice to see. So yeah, I you know, aside from, I think I share some of Jay's issues with the system and yours as well, Adrian. But if I was going to run this, I would probably use a different system to run it, if I was being honest.
That's a good positive, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is hard though, because fundamentally, I always just have this impression that if a bad system is in a good game, it doesn't matter. But weirdly, the year zero seems to matter quite a lot, because it can be quite destructive. Because if you don't pass things, it's difficult. But I have got to. The thing I really like, you touched on it there, Joanne Pookie. I think I really like the fact that the making the group and doing your ship comes before character. So you're actually building a TV show of characters that are coming together for a reason, and then you'll make the characters out of that reason, if that makes sense, of why you're there. You've got the 4 different styles: the free trader, the mercenaries, explorers, pilgrims. I would play this as a pilgrim adventure. I'd quite like the thought of not quite colonizing people through religion, but it seems like an interesting way to play a game. You know, like we've had this in history where people just turned up to foreign countries and go, I'm a Christian, so therefore, and then they get spears thrown at them or whatever it may be. And then you just got them running back to their ship going, this is mad. Why don't they understand? And I quite like that idea in this, because later on in the book, where because Coriolis is the space station. I saw someone moaning and going, I don't like the fact it's named after a space station. I was like, Babylon 5. Deep Space Nine, any Star Trek TV series, pretty much Enterprise. So yeah, I thought that was a strange thing, but it's like Pookie says, it's so much more than that, because you've got all your planets in there, the mystery of what's going on with the planets and the aliens. And
I mean, the other thing to bear in mind is that this is not a setting heavy on aliens. There's barely any alien species in it. There are alien non-intelligent species, and even the option. Basically, there are playable alien species, but it's sort of like they're an afterthought. They're an option. And I think the thing is that the background itself is so interesting that the alien species aren't that even the most interesting thing about it.
Yeah. So I'm going to save my darkness points, because I think it's a really good plus, and I think that could lead us into a little bit of a debate about because obviously Dune doesn't really like it, which is absolutely fine. But obviously being able to make your own ships is good. I love the stress mechanic in this and the mind mechanic, the fact that you will take physical wounds and mental wounds. And then you've got that roll and if you roll a 1 on the dice, when you take stress, your maximum stress will constantly reduce. So you don't ever actually heal back up again, which I think is again, there's so much interesting stuff in here. 2d6 critical, d66 critical tables. Jay, you must have loved that section. I know how you love your critical hit tables. Cybernetic Bioware in here. So I am going to segue into Dune's bad points. Actually, I'm going to cover both of these, because I'm not sure, having not played it.
Oh, just to be clear, I think it's a good idea. I can just kind of see how it could get abused. All I do is I'd put a cap on how often it could be used.
Well, it's down to the players to use it, and what I like about it, I'm just going to bring up the darkness points section, because I think it's probably worth showing and being a point, because obviously you think it could be bad. I think it's going to be good. So in essence, when in a lot of other of these games, so when you fail a roll, so you don't get a 6 or 3 if you go for a critical. I'll come on to that when we get to the negatives. You can re-roll. You pray to the icons, and you can re-roll your dice. And I love the fact it doesn't, like most of the Year Zero engines, most of them deplete attribute, skills, something. This doesn't. It separates out the hit points as well, which is, I think, mechanically makes it a lot better. But I like these mechanics where the players do something bad or don't succeed. They then get the choice as to whether they want to give the games master some good powers to do at a later date. It's up to them. How much do you want to succeed by? But like Dune says, some of these powers they get can be quite harsh because the game. So we've got it here. So they build them up and they're all from 1 to 3, I think I noticed was the most. And they seem to be able to spend them at any time. So the games master gets a darkness point. They can make the clip go empty, misfire, change initiative times, do mind darkness. They can bring in a personal problem or change the initiative during the combat and have reinforcements turn up. I think it's good. But what don't you like about it then?
I can just think of a couple of GMs I've had in the past that if they've had a bad day or you've said something that's kind of irked them a little bit, all of this would get directed at one player.
Okay,
so
you can see it being bullied.
I could see it being a system that allows kind of to, just basically to take your aggression out on somebody. But but you know what? I suppose there's lots of systems like that. I think if I was thinking about it, like I said, I'd just put a cap on how many points the players could give to the GM to do this.
Yeah, but you'd then have to cap how many times they could pray to the icons as well, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's tricky.
So that's the other thing.
But yeah, on paper, I like it, but I can see how it could be abused.
Yeah, I mean, I've no problem with it, and I think most GMs I've been fortunate to game with essentially would be look at this and go, great, this is a narrative tool. I can do two things, which is first, yes, I can mess around with the players, but B, I can do it when it's narratively appropriate.
Yeah,
and that's where it comes. That's when that sort of thing comes to the fore. Because I mean, again, similarly, the 2D20 system with its threat mechanic does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you read scenarios for that. Essentially, in general, it will have a guide as to when, suggestions as to what the GM should do at particular times with the threat.
Yeah. We've got. I'll come on to Britt's comment on the ship in a second. Brit Coriolis damage points or 2D20 threat. Yeah, I kind of think if you're playing in a game and you're worried about a games master bullying a particular player, me personally, I probably wouldn't be playing with that games master. That's just me.
To be fair,
that's quite a toxic thing. And if you're doing it, Dune, to other people.
I don't do things like that. But I'm going back a ways now. So I think the last time I played in a game like that must have been about, 15, 20 years ago, maybe. I don't think it's as a prevalent thing as it used to be, I don't think. Yeah.
Jay, thoughts on meta currencies in games and stuff?
I don't like them.
Shocker.
It depends how they're done. I think a lot of meta currencies, especially the momentum system in Modifius, which really annoys me. I understand why people haven't, and it probably works great, but it works better on a table around a group of people who can throw these tokens out and stuff. Because I find that we play online a lot, people forget they've got them.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Savage Worlds as well. I mean, with the bennies and stuff, and all the cards and stuff. People forget them.
I mean, I was in a game. I was in a game run by X-Crawl at the weekend, run by the author Brendan LaSalle, and basically he was constantly reminding us: spend your mojo. Yeah, exactly. And it's not like we're not experienced players, but because we don't have the sort of like the physical little tokens in front of us, it's something we kept forgetting and just sort of like had to work towards spending. I don't mind these meta currencies in the game. I mean, especially essentially, it depends upon the game. But if you're playing something heroic like Acton Cthulhu, the 2D20 system, or Conan 2D20, you want sort of like a mechanic that allows you to be heroic.
Yes.
And at the same time, you expect what should happen. You should expect the game master to be able to do the same kind of things for his key NPCs.
Yeah. Grey line. This is exactly how my group works. My face-to-face, like college, university groups. We are absolute sods for we're not trying to kill each other off, but we do quite like having that little bit of fun of, there's a little niggle where you don't want the players to succeed. You'll have seen this on the Tuesday nights, Jay, when you were joining us. We can be quite a little bit cruel to each other just because it's funny, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing of go on, do it, go on, do it.
Yeah. Please
it's
spend the
exact same.
Yeah. And then when it happens, you're like, oh no, I didn't mean do it.
Now I feel really bad. Yeah.
I quite like games that encourage heroic characters to do stuff because I think there's not enough, in my experience anyway. I don't think there's enough players out there who are willing to risk or do something that's kind of out of the ordinary, right? And I think them sort of things make the game kind of more exciting. But I wish they did it in a way that didn't involve something that has to be physically held, like a momentum token or a thingy, right? So Fantasy Age does it all right with their stunt system, which works quite well. And that doesn't involve any kind of tokens and stuff.
No, I mean, I have seen people complain about the age system and its stunt points. It's basically, I wanted with making them going, but I wanted to make the choice of what I wanted to do beforehand, not afterwards. And I was going,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think I don't know. I think if you're playing physical games on a table, then things like momentum and stuff, it probably wouldn't bother me. But because I've no friends, I have to do everything online.
Well,
with
you moved abroad. I think you used to live in a proper country, and you moved abroad.
I had no friends when I lived in England. But no, I think it does make it harder when you're online and trying to remember these things, and people trying to remember and stuff.
See, I was playing on RX Oliver's channel. I was playing a Savage Worlds campaign, and the games master was absolutely brilliant because he'd start with none. We'd always have bennies. Every roll, he was reminding us and trying to encourage us to spend the bennies because obviously with Savage Worlds, if we spend them, he gets them, and then he'd just save up about 15 or 20. We'd get to the end boss and we're like, oh, this is going to be really painful. And that is really good games mastery because he's, and it's our own fault. I think and it's like Modiphius 2D20, like Pookie was said. I've now played that with 2 really good experienced games masters. And it's an amazing game with a games master that knows what they're doing and uses the momentum at the right times to not really ruin a game, but just to add that little
attention.
Bit of danger back. Because you don't want to derail the campaign and stop the players from succeeding or kill one of them off. What you want to do is just make it a little bit harder going in. Go, do you know what? I'm going to roll 40-20 on this roll, and they're like, really?
I mean, it's even worse. As I said, it's even worse in X-Claw because there's a chance that you've got your mojo points. If another player rolls a 1 on the D20, everybody loses theirs. And you've got to start building back up again. So there's that encouragement to spend them as fast as you can.
Yeah, I
think there's also a risk.
That's a good mechanic then in X-Claw.
There's also a bit of a risk of making role-playing games feel too much like board games as well for me. The more they have these tokens and cards and this, that, and the other. I mean, when I got Dreams and Machines, the starter set, I mean, I never really bought the rule book, and people keep telling me, don't need that. But anyway, right, when I got the starter set, I got the cards, the fucking tokens, I got all the other shit, and I'm thinking, is this a board game or is it a role-playing game? Because it does seem ridiculous.
I have to say, I think the people you need to get closer to people so they can speak properly. You move too far away from them.
I mean, how did they tell you again, Jay?
Too far away. You move too far away.
Yeah. And how do you know what they were saying? So, Grey Lion. Also take Coriolis adventure like last voyage of Ghazali. Is that
Ghazali?
Yeah. There are no sections for non-static encounters.
Okay.
Baked into the use of. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much like the adventures you get for Acton Cthulhu, where they would you spend 2 threat here for this effect, or and so on.
I don't know. I think you guys have just convinced me that I've played a few games with some very bad GMs in my past.
Toxic people. Well, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that. We are live. I won't say that. I've got both of my wives on either my shoulder. Both of my wives.
Both of them. Do they know about you?
Do they know about each other? No,
Yeah.
no. Every time I'm live, I've always got like this conscious of my wife just going. Yeah. So, okay, this actually.
So what you're saying is this is my wife and this is my wife.
Yes, yeah. There's one person. Well, I grew up in a very small village, so there wasn't a lot of people in the village. So here's one actually, just as a segue. See, my advice. I'm just kind of thinking we've done, and I'm actually doing this on Tuesday now. Is what we're starting Horde Wars Advanced on Tuesday, and we're just going to do it old school theatre of the mind. And I think one of the problems that older players might get, so Grey Lion, you might have this, is you're used to doing theatre of the mind. So when you get to a VTT, it's very map heavy because games masters really rely on maps as opposed to physical sort of describing stuff. So you might want to go back to just playing theatre of the mind with people on a VTT is my kind of thought.
I can absolutely sympathize with that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I completely. Yeah. I mean, if you have this sort of setup where you can see everybody talking, it's almost like being around a table anyway. And you don't need all the maps. You can actually talk to each other like we are now. As soon as you go onto Roll20 and you've got no images of the characters and you're relying on maps, you can't see them. You can't see their expressions, and you're having to show the map because you're not really realizing whether they're understanding what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's a whole different experience though.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to use just Roll20 purely for a dice roller. Yeah, I actually couldn't care if my friends rolled all their dice in front of them on their desk and I didn't actually get to see it. We've been playing for 30 odd years. If they're going to cheat, they're just ruining the game for themselves. And we never cheat. We're the sort of players, we love it when things go wrong because it makes it really hard for the games master.
We do a lot of playtests. We use Owlbear Rodeo. We literally just use that as a dice roller.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So he's using alchemy, which alchemy is really good because that is just scenes, like Jay says. So yeah, it is a lot face to face. So I want to segue into a bad point then. I think so. The AP. So in combat, everyone's got 3 APs, which I think is really good. Until I read that to do the reactions, you need an action point, and I don't like that because you're kind of stopping the players doing everything they want to do. A reaction should just be there are 3 reactions in the game, but some of them you needed to save action points back for. And I thought that was a bit of a negative. So I thought, let's just talk about that and then get into everyone else's. And then we'll spend the next 20 minutes listening to Jay.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we've only got 20 minutes left before. So we've got a minute to do our bad things before Jay goes.
Yeah. But yeah, what do you think about having to hold points back for reactions? I thought that was a little bit.
Actually, I don't have a problem with it. I'm playing Dragonbane at the moment, and the thing is with that, you only get 1 action.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if someone attacks you first, you need that action to do anything, to react. So if when it comes around to your turn, and you've spent it on a reaction, well, that's what you've been doing this turn, and it adds a certain sense of essentially. It adds I think it adds a tactical element to this play. You know, that you're not just going, right, I'm going to rush in and do everything. And then I'm just going to stand there going, shoot me, go, just here, you know. So it's forcing the players to think about the combat.
Okay.
So I have no issue with that.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I've just become too maybe accustomed to, not that I'm playing a lot of 5e at the moment, but you're used to your reaction is a free thing that you can do. So, So which of you two want to start before Jay gets going?
I will say one thing in defense of the system, because I know we've all got our issues with this system. But compared to Vaesen, which really encourages you to be an investigator, there's not a ton of combat in it. I will say that the system makes a little bit more sense for this game than it does for Vaesen.
Yeah.
That's my little bit of defense for it out the way. Yeah, I just hate you've got to roll a 6. That I love everything about this game except rolling bloody 6s.
Or how many do you need to get? I love the way it goes. You only need 1 success.
Yeah, but
Or
you
to
need
get
3, more than
if you
3
get-
most of
If
the
you
time.
get extra successes, you can have a critical. And I was like, you never roll 3 6s.
It happens. It happens. Well, I mean, especially if you're rolling big handfuls of dice, it can happen.
It can. Yeah.
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 And thank you, Britt. You're entirely correct.
So, okay. So, right. Who wants to pick up then?
Okay. Well, all right. Okay. So my things I have against there aren't very few. Okay. There's not much. You kind of go. There's quite a lot of depth and detail to this setting, especially in this book. But you're kind of going that there's more. And this is not a role-playing game with anything really in the way of source books which expand the setting. It's mostly sort of smaller, sort of like scene and hook scenario booklets, or you've got the campaign. So you never quite know what's fully going on in the setting, and it takes you really to get into the full campaign to really explore the secrets of the setting. So you've got to kind of commit to that if you want to explore that avenue. And I think also, I mean, as much as it sets you up to do these different types of campaign, I don't necessarily think that the book itself always helps you with that as effective as it could have done.
Yeah. I'm just going to stop you. This is the bravest thing I've ever seen. But he saw a big bundle of Coriolis books and and he's bought them in one go. And then the follow-up conversation is because he hasn't played it.
Okay. The only thing I would say that's a great, fantastic lot of games. The only thing is that the Forbidden Lands is year 0, but it's year 0 plus, so it's different.
Yeah.
To standard year 0. And it's, I would say, of all the year 0 games, it's the toughest.
It's brutal, isn't it? Yeah.
It is brutal. So be prepared for that. We've only tried a couple of sessions, and the first combat we got our asses handed to us.
Wow. It is a beautiful box set though.
Oh yeah, lovely. And the artwork is fantastic, and the world depicted is superb. You really want to go and play it, and you kind of go, oh, this is a whole lot harder than I imagined.
It is. Jay, come on then, Jay. Throw us out some.
We'd better sit back for this one.
Couple of negatives.
Okay, Jay, you've got 10 minutes because Adrian still needs his go, and we've got the basically the prize giving.
Yeah, and then
I hate the setting. I hate the system. Sorry, I don't like the zero engine at all. It just does my head in. I hate having to keep on rolling bloody 6s. Change it. 2, the game relies upon the players knowing the game as well as the games master, because I've run games with players who have never used the icons because they're not read it, they're not interested. The setting really relies upon the players being involved and knowing it. And so, like what Adrian said, the first 7 chapters, give them to your players, make them read before they play it, because you'll have a better game with everybody being involved. And the games I've played, I've enjoyed more because everybody knew about the icons and how the game worked and stuff. I've run a game and nobody knew about the icons, nobody could be bothered to read it, and it ruined it, basically. It was just shit. Third, I hate the system. The system stop making me roll 6s. You should use a different system for it. Honestly, if you can take the whole setting and stick it in something else, like another really good system, like I can't think of any. Quintessence. Use Quintessence.
Bundles of D6. West End Games D6.
Star Wars D6. Perfect.
Yeah, Star Wars D6. That's all right. Everybody loves that. And I think that's pretty much it. The setting is great. I think the setting is brilliant. I honestly think the system lets it down, and it's the same reason for all this. I loved Mutant Year Zero. I thought and it was just ruined by the system. I like all their games. They all look lovely. I look at them and I think, oh, I've got to back that because it looks like a really good book. And then I think, hold on a second. It uses the Mutant Year Zero engine. I'm going to fucking hate it and sell it within a week, right? So I don't bother anymore. Dragonbane is the only demon, whatever it's called. Dragonbane is the only one I like.
Dragonbane's good, but
Blade Runner, I like Blade Runner.
yeah, what I hope is they do like they did with Symbaroum.
Symbaroum.
Is they do the runes of Symbaroum. And because that's uses D20, I'd prefer it to use a slightly different system, but that's a really good book because the world is amazing. And I quite happily.
I like both versions of Symbaroum. Honestly, I mean, I like the system, and I like, I don't have a problem with it. It feels right for the setting. It's slick and it's fast playing, and it's generally. It's not a huge expansive sense in terms of what you're trying to roll or do anything, and it's nicely designed to sort of like fit with the icons and stuff like that. I don't mind it.
Yeah, I actually think, and I've not played this for all the above reasons for loathing the system, which is again probably why Free League don't send me books to review. Now I think about it, I think this is probably one of the best versions of the Year Zero engine that's out there.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
because it makes more sense than Vaesen.
Yeah, but because the problem with most of them is your stats or skills are reliant on this depleting mechanic that as you fail stuff and get re-rolls. I like the fact you're giving pulls back to the games master. The action in combat, I quite liked it. Didn't like the reaction. Pookie's taught me back round for it. The critical things, I think that's just a joke in the book. 3 successes for a critical. I think they're just I think probably it was written in Swedish, badly translated into English. I generally don't know.
Could I just ask? The new edition that's coming out, is that going to be the same system?
More or less. I mean, I've not looked at this in detail because it's sat there going, read the other books, get to those done, and it's yeah.
Yeah, I am quite with Jay. I want to love and enjoy everything that they do.
I will say
well put together books.
Yeah, one thing I will say about Coriolis, and I think other science fiction games could use it as well, is not to rely too much on aliens. I mean, Traveller, I love Traveller, but all the bloody stupid aliens in it. It's like, it's like there's no need. Coriolis does it well, where your main antagonist is going to be a human, pretty much. And I love games that do that because humans are great antagonists, right? You don't need to keep cramming loads of stupid bloody aliens with fucking heads of frogs and whatever. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, to be fair, the Traveller setting essentially is a classic science fiction setting.
Yeah.
That is over 40. That is 40. It's almost 50 years old. So it's not a modern setting by any means, and it's got a lot of heritage. So it cannot avoid having those aliens in it.
No, I realise that. Yeah.
You do bring up a good point, though, Jay. Just out of interest, what is everyone's kind of go-to sci-fi RPG? I mean, for me, my favorite is Fading Suns.
I love Fading Suns, but for its complexity of setting and its flavor, sort of like Byzantium meets Dune. What is my favorite? I can't tell you what my favorite science fiction role playing. I can't tell you what my favorite science fiction role playing game is because there are too many that I like. I like Coriolis, I like Traveller, I like Fading Suns.
We know it's West End Star Wars, though, don't we?
Yeah.
Yes, I really love West End Star Wars. No, honestly, I love the West End Star Wars book. The book is superb. My main problem is I think the rules are boring.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where I stand. And I also like Mutant Year Zero as a science fiction setting. I'm sorry, I can't give a specific one.
No worries. Yeah. No, I was just trying to figure out what people were really what aspect of space sci-fi do people like.
Sorry, actually, I do know my favorite science fiction role playing game, and that's Empire of the Petal Throne. Controversially,
Yeah.
it's so far in the future Yes, it's got its own problems with the creator. I absolutely admit, but the world is fantastic.
Yeah,
and it is actually science. It's okay. No, also Numenera. It's a science fiction setting because it's all the technology, which it follows that idea of sufficiently advanced technology is akin to magic. But the fact is, all the player characters know that what they're using isn't magic; it's technology.
Yeah, we're all looking at our shelves now, going have a look.
Yeah.
But I'm going to pick up some of the questions that we've got here. So, Grey Lion, back with love dice pools over single dice toss. Totally agree. I think
definitely
dice pools are where the fun is, especially if you're playing a Star Wars game. You can play the Fantasy Flight one with a dice pool.
Yeah. I've played that. I have played that too.
Good save.
Yeah,
I was covering your back. So, how's the year zero different with Alien? Difference with Alien, and one of the reasons I like Alien is as you get more stressed, you get to add more d6s. So you've got more chance of succeeding. But if you succeed on your stress dice, it succeeds with a complication. And I like that. I think it works perfectly for Alien. The problem with Alien is its lack of replayability.
There
is. The Building Better World is a nice book, but I haven't run it within that book as yet. But I like Aliens.
Building Better Worlds and the Colonial Marines books allow you to play a campaign.
Yes.
So there's that option. Yeah.
So we got Brit's comment here. We're not mentioned the Dark Between the Stars.
Yeah, it's basically the cosmic horror element setting. Cosmic horror element of the setting.
Yeah. So see, I like the whole thing. I do. It's just and if Brit's going to run it, I'd be tempted to jump in and give it a go. But I just know full well the first time I roll and don't get a 6, I'm turning my computer off and walking off. Like Cartman leaving with his ball. I don't know what it is. Are you
the Charlie Brown of role-playing games?
But even one of my best friends, Paul, and I've been moaning about the Free League system, and I haven't enjoyed it for a long time. And on our recent gaming weekend, we played the latest baby by Free League.
Electric State?
Electric State, which is probably one of the worst inclinations of it, because you don't get skills and stats to build to your dice pool. You just get stats. And the only way you get you randomly roll your stats. So you've got them between 1 and 6. And then you get equipment that allows you to have extra dice. That's it. It's probably the most brutal version of it.
Wow.
And Paul, who constantly loves this, at one stage rolled over 30 dice with re-rolls, didn't get a single 6. And he was like, this. And even he doesn't want to play it anymore. So, yeah.
I think you'll enjoy Coriolis if you've got a decent GM running it. So if Brit's really into it, then I think you'll probably really enjoy it.
Yeah, he loves it. He's upset. I think at one stage he had 6 copies of the book. So what we do is we'll get Brit to run it for us, and we'll do it live on here, so everyone can just lose it when our dice rolls go bad. Or we'll dice roll in front of us and go, "Oh yeah, I got 6. I got 3 6s. What are 4 dice? Yeah. Oh yeah."
I mean, it does happen. I managed to roll 2 20s on a disadvantage die the other day in our Shadow Dark game.
That is brilliant. That is one of the best things about this hobby, isn't it? When you get really freakily weird things that happen. Because if you do it on a dice, if you do it on roll 20, everyone's like, "That's fixed." But if you do it in front of yourself, in front of everyone, it is a lot better. Just played Traveller with some friends this spring. Lots of fun. Traveller is fun.
Traveller's a brilliant game. It's an amazingly good game.
But it's a university game. It's the sort of game that you play with your mates at university because you've got nothing else to do all day, and you just keep playing it forever.
It's not a good game that relies on, well, all games run on really good GMs, but I think you've got to really pick your setting for Traveller, because there's some settings that I don't particularly like, but there's some other settings I quite like. And it's lots of stuff.
It's huge. I mean, one of the great things about the current version of Traveller is that it's actually being supported with campaigns.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really good. I mean, Mongoose has doing a great job of that, I think.
So downside for Grey Lion on Coriolis is, which will make him a heretic, it's the dense lore and the names. Yeah, there's quite a lot in the back of the book, which is why I think from a player's point of view, you can get away with just those first 7 chapters and have some very basic stuff. But yeah, the games master's got a lot of work to make this work well. But equally, the players need to invest in it, like Jay says, or the games master's wasting his time.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you've got players that could come at sort of like with a casual attitude and just sort of start mucking about, or you've given a name, you've described it, given the name of something, and they've gone, oh, that's ridiculous, and sort of like named it something else. That's the mood kind of broken on. I've played in games like that.
Yeah. I think Midwest probably sums this up perfectly, actually, because, like I say, when you're rolling a big number of dice and you've spent a long time specializing into something, and then you still fail, you're kind of like, and then you do your praying or whatever other mechanic that Year Zero has, and again you fail. You're like, oh, really? And I know you can roll a double 1 on a d20 or 2d, whatever it may be, but for some reason when you're rolling lots of dice, because in the book, sadly it breaks down. I don't know. I didn't notice in Coriolis actually. But they normally break down the percentage chance of how many d6 you got to roll to get to 98% chance. And it's only something like re-rolling 10 dice twice. And you're almost guaranteed a 6. But it doesn't feel like that when you play it. And I think that's probably why.
I think, especially in Coriolis, when everybody's got a speciality and they're all they're all part of a team. So you're part of a ship. And if you're navigator or whatever, and he can't roll a navigation roll to save his life. You're kind of like, well, we're fucked now. If the navigator can't fucking do it, we're not going to be able to do it, are we? So,
Yeah. What I wanted.
I mean, I was going to say, but I mean, the thing is, sometimes that actually becomes sort of like part of your own game, your game's in-game lore, to the point where he can't do it, and you've got some other character doing it instead, just on the fact that his rolls are weirdly better than the actual person who's supposed to be good at it. I mean, that does happen in other games as well, and it can be funny. But yeah, obviously, it can be frustrating if you're meant to be good at this.
Yeah. We had it in Forbidden Lands where I had the thief skill, and I had something like 6 or 7 dice, I can't remember, and I was trying to get through a door, and I couldn't unlock it because I needed 2 successes. And then Rob came along, and I think he only had 2 or 3 dice into it, and he managed to get it. And you're like, well, that's my character pointless then. Because the games master needs you to get through the bloody door. And if that's the example, don't make the players roll. If the whole game falls down, you got to have something.
Make them win that.
Yeah. So right, we've got a minute to go.
So thumbs up, thumbs down, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay, you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Ooh. That's a complete reverse of last time, isn't it?
So setting system.
I would say, I'm more about there, I think.
I'm willing to give it a go.
Yeah.
I think the system's going to make me, it's the bit that's going to make me not quite enjoy it. So while you're looking at that, we've got a comment here about the Lancer Core Rulebook. Means nothing to me, as I'm going to just work out who's won. So we've got 18.
Very nice. I've only played Lancer 1, and that was online, and that was probably one of the most boring games I ever played.
Wow. What is Lancer, Pookie?
It's a mecha game, and I was thoroughly recommended that I play it by a good friend and a very good GM. I went, I'll sign up for it, and he basically, the GM was running a Lancer combat game, and it was basically, okay, fine, can I go and do this? And I think I got to do 2 combat turns in the whole session, no role playing, and I was just sort of like, I don't know what I'm here for. I mean, it happens. You do get bad games. Yeah.
Good old Brit. So we have got 18 people that have commented. So I'll just share the list so you know that you can't see it there. 19 people No, I have got Brit in there. Suddenly I thought I forgot to put Brit in. So that's fine. So let's get over to the exciting wheel, which is the highlight of the night. And then we're going to do some news. We're going to do topical news and see if we can not get in trouble by saying too much. Oh, it's going to be one of my Patreons. Patreon number. So,
it's that little jingle. That's why we all show up.
That is. It's actually so you can see it. So the Patreons are the first 8 on there. So I know the order of my Patreons. I kind of feel for protection wise. I don't know why I don't share them, but I kind of think they haven't asked to be shared, so I probably shouldn't. If that makes sense. Bear in mind, my main job's got a lot of data protection in it, so that's probably why. But yeah, news. We're going to do a news article, topical debate.
Are we not going to any idea what we're going to do next time?
I don't know.
Are we going to change genre?
I like the idea of X-Crawl, especially now you've said that meta currency disappears.
You mean
we could do X-Crawl and DCC, couldn't we? I suppose.
Well, no, you can't.
They're different games.
Okay, the same engine, but entirely different. There's an actual full-blown setting attached to this, whereas DCC is basically a retro. Is sort of like a retro clone.
Yeah. I like quite the idea of doing X-Crawl.
All right, no problem.
Sure.
Yeah,
Cool.
Everyone all right with X-Crawl?
Yeah.
Yep.
Never read it. Don't own it.
No.
It's honestly, it's a lot of fun. I'm already biased, and I've had the benefit of playing in a few games as well.
Okay, so X-Crawl coming up. Right, let's get this news article up, which is quite a shocker, I think, when I stumbled across it. Is it? Would you class this as big news? I think you probably would. If I could go quicker. And it's this, which is basically Christopher Perkins and Jeremy Crawford, who were the previous creative directors of Dungeons and Dragons, Wizards of the Coast, who've been there for what, 25 years? Somewhere around there, I think. They both quit a couple of weeks ago, and it's just been announced 2 days ago they've joined Darrington Press from the incredibly good and well-balanced game Daggerheart.
I watched your review on that.
Oh, I got some hate. I got a lot of love and I got a lot of hate.
I feel like you made a good point, though.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people said.
The
thing I found hardest was when someone was having a go at me, basically saying, I suggest you should go and play the game. And I was like, I'm doing this review because I've played the game. And it's based on my impression. But yeah, who wants to pick up this? I think this is big.
I agree. I would ask a question first, because I have a weird theory about this. So obviously, Chris Perkins and his name's gone out of my head now.
Jeremy Crawford.
Crawford, that's it.
Yeah.
They obviously had a lot to do with D&D for a very long time. I'm not sure how much they had to do with the recent 2024 versions of the game. That would be my first sort of thing to try and work out. Because I wonder whether or not they left having not been that involved with it, and they were kind of forced to stick around until it was released.
I don't know. They sort of like, I think they kind of saw the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition revised Dungeons and Dragons 2024, whatever you want to call it, Dungeons and Dragons 5.5. Basically sort of like as their kind of final contribution to the intellectual property, as it were.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I have the player's handbook for that, and I've gone through it, and I have many issues with it. But I will say it's a better put together book than the 2014 version. It reads in a much more logical order. I mean, I don't agree with half the changes they've made to it, but yeah.
We're all going to miss Jeremy Crawford losing his shit on Twitter when people ask him questions directly and he jumps in and stuff like that. You may be right. I do wonder whether a lot of the control disappeared from them, which might be one of the reasons why they wanted to go.
Could be.
But we've got no real way of knowing, have we?
No, this is speculation.
But
I mean,
joining Darrington Press, they're going there to make new projects.
Yeah,
is what they're saying. So it's not they're going to improve Daggerheart or Candelera Obscura or the other one that they made. It seems like they're going to have free reign to create new things, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I think it's a really good thing.
I mean, somebody posted on Twitter, basically said something along the lines of, this has happened. Which so basically, which game is going to take the crown? And my reaction was, what crown? Are you, do you mean, is there jumping ship? They don't say jumping ship because they haven't jumped ship. Is there joining this company and whatever they produce going to take the crown from Dungeons and Dragons? No, of course it's not. Nothing is going to topple Dungeons and Dragons in its popularity ever at this point. Within imaginable years. Okay, too big a player base. Will they now be able to create something essentially, which I suppose is more interesting to themselves and more personal to themselves? Then absolutely. And that's where I think it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to come up with, because obviously they've spent most of their sort of like a huge part of their careers working on one intellectual property, which isn't theirs.
Yeah. I feel like we should apologize on behalf of Free League.
Yeah.
But yeah, I you're right. But it did take a massive bomb in the 90s. It jumped back in with with 3.0
yeah.
with TSR going wrong. I think though the value for WotC of D&D is not role playing.
No, well, they've flat out said, haven't they?
I think it's licensing, because it's not even a technology anymore, because that's bombed. That they've lost that.
Impressively bombed that one.
Yeah. So that's gone, and they spent all that money buying D&D Beyond, and obviously allegedly subscriptions are down, but obviously we don't get to see the full figures on it. But I do wonder whether there's now just that mad rush to get, they've got to get 6th edition made, and it's got to be good.
I don't even think that's their main focus. I think their main focus is just, like you said, licensing it out.
Yeah,
selling cornflakes with Dungeons and Dragons toys in and stuff.
I don't think they'll be bothered about the 6th edition until 2034.
You reckon?
Yeah. Why would they? I mean, the point is, okay, what are they going to release? What are they going to release on the game's 60th anniversary?
Well, I think it's going to depend.
A white box.
I think it's going to depend how the next round of books they put out do. I think, because I can't imagine that sales of their recent books, the Monster Manual and the DM's Guide, have been particularly fantastic from what I've read. So that next series of books will be what decides it. If they bomb, they'll release a new edition probably.
And the thing I've noticed from the YouTube, I don't watch a lot of 5e YouTubers because it doesn't interest me. But they're the big channels, and they, not all in unison, but quite a lot of them have moved completely to Daggerheart. Critical Role have moved to Daggerheart. No one's buying WotC, so as much as you say, Peaky, that I think we might see quite a significant shift away.
Yeah, but I'm just projecting into the future, because essentially that makes sense for me. The thing is, I don't think they're going to do anything. I don't think they're doing any changes to Dungeons and Dragons until 6th edition, whenever that comes out. They'll continue to support it in order to maintain basically the intellectual rights to it in that form. Yeah. Obviously we don't know how well the new edition has sold. What's interesting is with this new edition is sort of like, it's actually quite a sizable gap between editions. There was a 10-year gap between editions, which really hadn't happened before.
No. So because I wonder whether Crawford and the other guy's names just jumped out of my head now as well.
Chris Perkins.
That's it.
Whether they did want D&D 1. And Watsy went, no, we're going to 5.5. We can't move away too far. So the baby they're going to create now at Darrington Press is something we got no way knowing. But I think for the hobby, it's really good. I think
it's an excellent thing.
It's an
the more creators who make games, the better things will be. You know, it's fantastic.
I mean, the thing is, I think the problem that they have is whatever they create is going to be is going to be viewed by a segment of the hobby by their involvement with 5th edition and the new edition.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because there's a quite a sizable segment which really disagree. who loathe Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition and Wizards of the Coast. Okay, for whatever reasons. And also Hasbro. So basically, I go so far as essentially they despise them. And I think that taint is going to affect whatever they come out with. But I think in general, if you're interested in gaming at all, what they come out with, well, you best take an interest, because essentially they've been working on the premier role-playing game in the hobby for the past few decades. And we haven't seen a vision from them that isn't tied to D&D.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be exciting for them to actually go out and produce something they want to be able to do without being tied by the corporate ethos. If that, I suppose Darrington Press might have a little bit of a sway.
But
them,
I think that
it's not going to be as tight as.
It's not going to be as tight, and the thing is that I think it depends whether or not they're going to own the rights to the game, or Darrington Press are going to own the rights to the game.
That's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah. So I've got a point here from Grey Lion.
Oh, wow.
I didn't realise that 4th edition still made money, but it makes sense.
I always thought Pathfinder made more, though, so that surprised me.
I think it was it during the OGL?
No, it was during 4th edition. Because
no. I mean,
sorry.
Pathfinder sold a whole year's worth of books.
That's right. Yeah.
And I didn't realise just how low down total sales are for Pathfinder. It's like some of the creators I talk to on the channel. If they shift 100 books, they're happy.
Yeah, I mean,
and because you don't realise.
Oh, geez! If I sold 100 books, I'd be very happy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You don't until you actually get and look behind the scenes. You don't realise just how vast what this behemoth is.
Yeah,
because we only sold 20,000 copies this year. So you think everyone else is selling 2,000 or 3,000, and
I mean, the thing is, if Ewan had sold 100 copies, he wouldn't be here. He'd be drunk. He'd be blind drunk.
Oh. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Jay, what's your thoughts?
I'm not the one.
I'll make sure I'm sitting down. Okay, we're ready.
Yeah, we're ready. You can go now.
I think Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins were jumping I think there were rats jumping a ship that was sinking, quite frankly. I think they wanted to get out of it before they got kicked out, really. And I think maybe the changes to the new edition of D&D were old school. They were part of it. I mean, if you looked at Jeremy Crawford's bookcase, right, in the interviews he's done, his bookcase is filled with an awful lot of different types of RPGs. So he wasn't just constantly playing D&D. He was playing all sorts of stuff, right? So I think the changes and stuff, I think they jumped before it got basically out of hand, right? I also think Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins, if there are any kind of designers whatsoever, they could have got together and designed something themselves, got it on by Kickstarter and got millions for it, right? Just because of their names. And I do think that Darrington Press is basically not going to let them do anything. They'd be advisors, but they got them because of the names. They're trying to get the D&D customers to come over and buy Tigerheart because Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins are part of it. and everybody who likes D&D likes Jeremy Crawford and Perkins, right? It's just a bullshit move from a company that has shit tons of money from Critical Role.
I don't know that Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins have quite that pull within the wider Dungeons and Dragons hobby. Honestly, I don't think it's not like Gary Gygax, you know.
No, but
and I don't think that the young. I don't necessarily think that the younger players who play D&D, who've come into the hobby playing D&D, necessarily have an attachment to the game, to the names behind the game than the game itself.
But you've got to remember that, firstly, every WotC video that came out before the 2024 edition, it was Chris Perkins, Jeremy fucking Crawford doing the interviews, right? So everybody saw who they were, right? Secondly, if you're telling me that Darrington Press are not going to use the whole catchline of Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins, who created D&D 5th edition, is now working for Darrington Press.
Yeah. Okay, but I don't think they're going to put slap that on the bottom.
I bet they do. I bet they do. I bet they stick it somewhere. I guarantee it'll be stuck somewhere. They'll make sure that people know that the people who created 5th edition D&D that everybody loves is now making stuff at Darrington Press.
Wow. I'm really glad you pulled that back a bit, Jay. Well done. You really sugarcoated it so we could take it. Thanks.
But you don't have two big names from one of the
No, you're absolutely right. You know, you're gonna do everything to try and sell your product.
Everybody knows. I mean, they didn't have to tell anybody that Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins is now working with Darrington Press, did they? They could have kept that to themselves.
They had to. It's a
hold on. I mean,
exactly.
Well, I mean, so okay, it's a hold on, but that's the kind of standard thing you do anyway. You know, we have these designers coming and joining us. Here's a press announcement. Okay, it's because obviously it's bigger. It's bigger in the industry this time around because they've been attached to D&D, but there's still a big part of the hobby, okay, that plays these games, but isn't bothered about what we're talking about.
I agree. I don't think the average person knows who either of them are, because I only know who a lot of creative people are because I have to read their names at the start of a book.
I don't know.
I've been in the hobby for 35 years, and throughout that time, I didn't know who any of the writers are because it's not important. No, and I don't think it's that important for most people. I think it will sell for Darrington Press, and I think it will work well, but I don't think it's quite the. I think it's more done as maybe two fingers to Wizard of the Coast to go, look what we've done.
Could be.
I think it's odd that they didn't do something on their own. I think both of them together, they could have done. They could have done something, and they would have done well on it.
Yeah. But I mean,
going to Darrington Press, I thought was a weird move, quite frankly, because Candela Obscura was shit. Dagger Heart.
Say what you think.
Dagger Heart, I'm not interested in.
I possibly think that you could be more honest about how you feel about the game. And
it's like it really feels like someone's put a pound in the angry man.
Just wound him up a bit. That's it.
I can sit here and go, well, Candela's we're alive. Do you know what I mean?
I'm not sure I'm going to do this in 2 weeks' time.
I think another thing to take into account though,
and it could have been better. And I think Darrington Press hasn't done anything significant enough in order to. I think they've just got an awful lot of money from Critical Role, and they're spending it.
Yeah.
In order to meet their own thing.
But that said, something interesting could still come of it. And the other thing is the fact that here's the other thing. Whatever the other reason why they might want to go, you say, all right, they could have gone out, done a Kickstarter for themselves, and then done all right, but they've joined an existing company, so they've got the backing from that, but on the other end on that, they have access to Critical Role. Whatever they come up with, is going to be showcased via Critical Role at some point.
Yeah.
So that's you've got that connection there. I mean, in terms of media coverage in the industry, you're not going to get bigger than Critical Role.
No, I mean the only trouble with that,
that's true.
I'd say that the only drawback to that is that Critical Role, as far as I'm aware, have never actually played a game as it's actually played. They make it seem a lot more exciting than it actually is. I mean, Candela Obscura was really pushed to be a great game, and when anybody got it, they were like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, but that's exactly where that's what I said in my review of Daggerheart. Daggerheart, there really isn't much of a game there. Where every NPC's got one stat, and the games master just decides what difficulty it is. But it's perfect for a TV show because you want it to be quick, you want it to be fast, you don't want the dice rolling to get in the way. Matt Mercer and all that are really good at narrative. They do all the stuff that we all do really badly, and you watch it and go, God, I'm a terrible dungeon master.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I was.
Did you just say yes to that?
I think you did.
I mean, I was going to say I was at Cthulhu Live just before UK Games Expo. Okay. Yeah. So I was watching basically a game team, but basically a group playing Dungeons and Dragons. Sorry, Call of Cthulhu on stage. Yeah. And apart from one bit that was obviously staged for the setup, and then I knew it was staged for the setup because I realized that what the scenario they was playing, everything else wasn't. And you had in that live event sort of like quite a bit of back and forth of them being gamers as much as actors, sort of like doing the game. And you also had, you could sort of like see in that at least that the rules were being used. And then there was one horrible point towards the end of the session, which was you watching it was hilarious because you understood how they felt as players, where one character had gone insane and berserk in front of the monster, and there was another character next to him, and it basically said, okay, well, you go berserk and attack the nearest thing to you, which is your fellow investigator, and then rolled the attack roll, and she sat there going, rolls the dice, looks at it, and gulps. And at that point, you knew something bad was going to happen to the other character, and it felt exactly like it did round the table. And it was a 0-1, in Call of Cthulhu, that character was dead. So, I mean, you do get plays like that where you do get to see the rules played. Yeah. So I don't know about Critical Role. I've never really watched it. It's sort of like, it felt, to be honest, a young person's thing. I mean, and I say that ages me, but it's a case of it's more time than anything now.
So,
I just
I'm with you. I am with you. But we have got quite an important one that I've just lost. Where's it gone? Here we go. So just getting back to Coriolis, and Grey Lion basically threw up the answer. He was basically saying, just start off running it a bit like Deep Space Nine, that sort of environment. I think that's probably a good part in your head to help.
Basically, if you go for something like Traveller, set yourself up with your characters up with a ship, one world and a system, then another world and a system, so they've got somewhere to go to, something to do, give them some hooks. You can tell them things about the wider world outside of this. Okay. Yeah. The basics of it, the setting, start small and build up. It's not just, to be fair, it's not just science fiction role playing games like this. One of the issues that people have, say, coming to a game like RuneQuest and Glorantha, they say, "Oh, hold on a minute, there's so much lore, I need to know everything." Well, actually, no, you don't. You can get away with knowing a minimum of lore and focus on one particular setting and go from that. Start small, work up to, adding in more elements as you go along. I've played in a campaign, it was Empire of the Petal Throne, where the GM would turn up each week, and if necessary, he would have a handout going, here's the extra information you need to know about this week.
Yeah. The other thing you could do, and this is something that I found useful, is to look on YouTube and see if you can actually find a live play of Coriolis and watch how they do it, because that sometimes really does help.
It's very good for pre-bought adventures, isn't it? It's a really good way of learning a pre-bought adventure.
Yeah, and I think as long as the players understand that they have these kind of religious icons they can call upon, and that the setting is kind of that mystical kind of Far Eastern feel to it, I do think that as long as they understand that and they get into it, then you'll be fine with everything else. Everything else is kind of.
And they have a.
I'm just deleting this comment off.
Don't Freely have like a quick play PDF that covers the basics of everything? It might be worth giving that to your players.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, and I mean the other thing with the Coriolis is there's a scenario in the back of the book as well. Yeah. Beyond that, though, there isn't a lot of support in terms of actual fully formed scenarios in there. There are settings with hooks which you kind of need to develop, or you leap straight into the campaign, which will reveal a whole lot about the settings secrets.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was just writing down Patreon number 3, wasn't it? That's what we rolled. I was just suddenly.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I'll have forgotten. Let me just go back to.
But no, I don't want to come across as sort of negative about the whole thing. I just find the whole thing a little.
No, you didn't. Not at all.
No, not at all.
I get I think I get a little bit jaded by the whole thing because it's always D&D this, D&D that, and it's like, and Darrington Press, I know what they're trying to do, and they're trying to write good games, but they're not. And they may come up. Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins may do something great, and that would be brilliant, right? If they come along and do something that's amazing and we all love it, then great. That's what we want. We want loads of. But there's a million great games out there that nobody plays.
Quintessence.
And they're playing fucking games because they've got the D&D logo on it, or they've got fucking somebody from Critical Role on it. You know what I mean? And that's not easy for anything really.
I mean, that's a problem in general, essentially, because a lot of people. Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, okay, look, our hobby is dominated by Dungeons and Dragons, whether we like it or not. Okay, yeah, and despite what we want, okay, not everyone wants to go and play different games. They might be happy with Dungeons and Dragons. Some people, are prepared to, dip their toe outside into, the little puddles away from the big lake, of D&D. And hopefully find something that else that they want to try. It is difficult, and the thing is, even then, it's knowing what to look for, what to find. There are so many choices available these days.
Oh yeah, Tony.
So Britt's made a good point here. Obviously, this Drive-Through RPG is such a great thing, and if you subscribe to Drive-Through RPG, every single day they do a deal of the day. It's for a PDF. I quite regularly just buy the deal of the day book just for some inspiration, something to read. It's supporting someone. Okay, it's not supporting them fully because obviously you're getting a discount, but you're taking a gamble on something, and I quite like reading quite obscure stuff, and some of them are absolutely amazing.
You'll actually be surprised how much deal of the day matters, because I mean, I don't know if you know much about Drive-Through RPG, but you gain publisher points every time you sell something, right? And it costs a certain amount of publisher points to put a deal of the day up. So I think I needed 1,200 publisher points, right, to put up a deal of the day, right? And you only get a penny for every $1 you make or something, right? So you get 1 point. So that's a lot of, that's a lot of points, right? You need to collect. And but when you do a deal of a day, I mean, when I did my recent one for Fantasy Gits, I think I sold almost 100 copies, right? Which is good. Yeah. And you don't get that normally, right? And of course, and that's why it's so important. So people buying the deal of a day is really important, and it does help the small indie, especially the ones who have struggled their way up to 1,200 points, and it takes a time to get there. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I mean, John will know that it's not an easy thing to get to that 1,200
Nope.
points. I mean, it takes a long time, and so when you do it and you spend, you're like, oh, do I want to spend these 1,200 points? I could be doing something else. And you spend it, and you do sell a lot of books. It's great. So I mean, if you do see a deal of a day, grab it. Because it is good. And I'm sure Adrian has an affiliate link. If he hasn't, he should get one. You can always use that as well.
I do always use my affiliate link.
As same here. I have to say, Jay, have you suffered though? Did you suffer getting those 1,200 points? Because
I did. Yeah. I mean, there's only one till Jeremy Crawford turned up and told me how I should do it.
And the thing is, look, you've been down on Jeremy Crawford, but see how he helped you there. And you didn't even thank him. Now's your chance, Jay. Thank Jeremy Crawford for your help there. His help there.
Thank you, Jeremy. You're a god in my eyes. I love you.
Okay, so we're going to wrap it up. There is one more question that's going to be very easy to answer, and that is this. And I think we could all universally say no.
Not a chance.
I don't see it, but no point. No point.
No.
Yeah.
No. But thanks to everyone for being here. I will be back live tomorrow with an interview with the creator of Atomic Shadows, which basically is Fallout for and post-apocalyptic world for Shadow Dark. It's a bloody good thing. My review went out a day ago for it, so we are doing a giveaway. We're going to be back then on the 2nd of July to do X-Crawl. Is it X-Crawl Classic? Is that what it's actually called?
X-Crawl Classics. Here we go.
Classics. Yeah. So thank you everyone that joined in, and thanks for all your questions. Hopefully we got to nearly every one of them, and we are all going to join Brit's adventure, and Brit is going to run it for us live on my Discord, and you can watch us all have them out there. You're going to be there, Jay. You're going to be there. You're playing Coriolis with. It's to be decided. We're all going to do it.
Yeah, I'm up for it. Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm up for it.
Yeah.
So there you go, Britt. We'll do it on a Wednesday because we know you're free. We'll do it on in the days in between.
Yeah. That'd be funny. We can all swear at the dice.
Yeah. Right, everyone. Thank you for watching, all your questions and joining in. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Well, I'll see you tomorrow.
And thank you, Helen. I appreciated the compliment.
She's probably just really creeping, and she's going to bring you an apple in 2 weeks' time. I think that's what will happen.
I don't mind.
Actually, yeah, or a nice cup of tea when she gets to meet you in Birmingham again.
Nice hot cup of tea.
Yeah.